Today I was telling you about different change initiatives that we managed to introduce over the last couple of months, and we are successful with those. But very often I meet those people who are trying to do kind of similar things and they failed. And they're really angry and they say, oh, if only I could change their thinking. If only I could change their thinking, right? But my advice is like that. Don't try to change their thinking. Change the way people behave. Because if you create like a working version of a deployment pipeline, like a deployment pipeline prototype, and people find, oh, this is actually easier to use this prototype pipeline and do the right thing instead of doing it manually, they will accept your change anyway. People are not really afraid of change. They are afraid of the change they don't understand. So our job as change agents is to actually decrease the learning anxiety. I can't really recall how many times I repeated the same concepts that we've been talking about here in the past. And to be honest, I don't regret a single repetition, because very often what looks like resistance is nothing but a lack of clarity. And here's the thing. When I was reading those different books about organizational change, and I was trying different techniques, at some point I had this epiphany. I have to start the change with myself. I have this tendency to be like very, very nonchalant. And I know many great developers who are really good technically. They're great programmers, but they're like very cynical. They complain a lot. And here's the big realization I had. Change is not about, oh, who has better ideas. It's not only about logic. It's mostly about emotions. As Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And you should be aware that like extreme automation and continuous delivery, those things can be perceived by some people as taking away their jobs. Because people who are doing like manual deployments, or project managers who are coordinating those long deployment marathons, they may look at those new shiny things and be afraid of losing their jobs. And you may say, oh, those people were doing like robot work in the first place. Maybe. But don't treat those people like robots, because they are human beings. What I always try to emphasize is that we are trying to create this work environment that fully respects human potential. And yes, sometimes it means that some people will have to learn some new things. But I think it's inevitable anyway. If you look at the average life expectancy of the big companies, it's decreasing year by year. Companies appear and then they disappear later. They come and go. And those companies that embrace the learning process increase their chances of survival. So what have you learned today? 4 main takeaways from this presentation. Consider using the web the way it was designed to be used before you start re-implementing the web. Now I'm going to say something controversial. Very often, maintainable code is highly overrated. What I want is maintainable systems and replaceable components, because I don't want maintainable code in a technology that I find fundamentally broken. The third point, consider automating boring things. Boring, but not everything. Not everything has to be automated. But also, consider automating less obvious things. It looks like everyone automates their build and tests, but not many people automate their infrastructure. Not many people automate their deployment pipelines. And finally, consider using different change patterns. You can't take like our solutions one-to-one and apply them in your context. But there are individual change patterns that you can use. You can try different change patterns, poke your organization, and see what sticks. And this is actually the end of my story. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. My name is Mateusz Kwaśniewski, and I was your storyteller today. Thank you.